Hey everyone, this is Will from Productions², and I'm back for this video, which is going to be a review of sorts for some of you and an introduction to our review series for others. I just want to kind of go over the outline for our single player recording series review series. Kind of redundant, I know. That I went over in some of our other vlog videos. I also wanted to combine into that more detailed description of the reviews, how the review system is going to work, and also a short example using Mass Effect 3, just so you kind of see how it will work overall. Really, the way that this I came to create this system is that I wanted to have a way to make reviews, have them still be based on my opinions, but make it so that any biases I might have from those opinions wouldn't overly affect the score. For example, if you go over to Metacritic.com and let's say you look up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, you're probably going to see something like 700 plus negative reviews for the game. A lot of them will probably be about, oh, this game's a Call of Duty game, it sucks, that kind of stuff. They focus on one thing and use that one thing to drag the ratings down. Or like if you're doing a review and let's say that graphics are like more important than air to you in a game, and so you're going to make the game review score for graphics be 80% of the overall score for the game that you give. And so if a game has really bad graphics, that's at most 60% of the game's score going down the crapper right there. I want to have a way where each category can be rated on a normal scale, but then have that scale not really overall have an effect that was too radical on the overall score. To that end, this is how the review system is going to work. There are 7 criteria each game is going to be rated against. Each criteria will be on a 1 to 10 scale, but the overall score is on a 0.7 to 7 scale. And I know some of you are thinking, what the hell, 0.7 to 7? That doesn't make too much sense. Well, it will in a second. There are 7 criteria. A little hint there are 7 criteria. Each criteria is going to, again, be worth 1 to 10 points. But that 1 to 10 rating is not going to translate to 1 to 10 on the overall score. The 1 to 10 is going to translate to a 0.1 to a 1. So if I gave it a 5 on gameplay, if I gave a gameplay a rating of 5 for a game, that would translate to 0.5 for the overall rating. And so that's how you get to 0.7 to 7. All 1s would translate to all 0.1s, which translates to 0.7. All 10s equals all 1s, which equals 7. And you won't really see too many 0.x's or really low scores, or not really too many high scores either. They'll probably be right in the middle somewhere, usually. The criteria that are going to be used to rate against are gameplay, graphics, audio, story, difficulty, replayability, and content. The gameplay will cover basically just like how the player interacts with the game, how they interact with the interface, if there are any bugs or glitches with the battle system or the movement system. The way in which enemies spawn, if that's, if they're like zombies, if it's like a zombie spawner or something like in Call of Duty 1, or if it's more regulated like in Mass Effect where there's only a certain number of enemies that are in the area at one time, and no more can spawn after you beat them all. The graphics will be covering, obviously, the graphics, how good the game looks, if there are any problems with the graphics. Not so obvious, though. is the fact that I'm not going to be rating the graphics based on modern games, if the game is not a modern game. If the game is an older game, say like a console game from the 90s, I'll rate the graphics against other console games from that period of time. The audio, again, pretty much self-explanatory, covering the game sonically. The background music, the score, the sound effects, voice acting, that kind of stuff. Again, any kind of bugs or problems with it. With that system. Next is story. Again, pretty much self-explanatory. I'll be going over kind of a summary of what the story is. If there are any plot holes, or if there are any plot holes that people have found that I can maybe possibly explain away. If there are any continuity issues, if the story makes sense overall, which is pretty big for the rating. If the story isn't very immersive to me, it'll probably get a lower rating than a story that is bad but is immersive. Because immersion is really a higher priority to me than if the story makes complete and total sense. There can be certain things that don't make sense, but if the story as a whole is immersive enough, I may gloss over them, or they won't affect the overall score for the story that much. The difficulty is the first one that is not really as it seems. It's not so much really a measure of how hard the game is to play or beat, it's more of a comparison between the difficulty level that I played for the game compared to similar difficulty levels from similar games from the same genre. So it's like comparing World at War's veteran difficulty mode to Call of Duty 6's. I think that's Modern Warfare 2's veteran difficulty mode. The replayability covers how replayable the game is, if there's new content unlocked when you play through it a second time. If there's anything different when you play through it multiple times, that kind of stuff. Content is kind of convoluted, really. Content is it's like a sub-overall score of all the other criteria. I don't know why I'm adding this in there, but it makes sense to me, so. It's really kind of going over how polished the game looks, how complete it feels when you're playing it. Like with Mass Effect 3, you might say the game is not as complete as you might have said that Mass Effect 2 was, because it doesn't feel as fluid or cohesive as Mass Effect 2's gameplay system did. And then all those scores for each of those criteria add up to the overall score. And now for the example, I'm going to use Mass Effect 3. I'm not really going to explain anything, I'm just going to give you scores based on what I've seen so far playing the game. But I'm not going to do any explanations because that'll probably give out spoilers I don't want to give out. So, going through it quickly, I would rate the gameplay at this time as an 8. Graphics as an 8. Audio I'd rate it as a 9. Story I'd give a 6. Difficulty a 7. Replayability a 5. Content would be a 7. And that would translate to a 0.8, 0.8, 0.9, 0.6, 0.7, 0.5, and 0.7, respectively. That translates to an overall score of 5, which is actually pretty good. That's probably around a high B to a low A if you're going to give it a letter rating out of that. And the score may change depending, like with Mass Effect 3, I know there's going to be a lot of DLC released, or maybe at least some DLC released, that may or may not make the game worse or better. And so what'll happen is if there is new DLC released, or what'll happen is that if I make a review and then there's DLC released for a game after that, I'll wait to see if there's going to be any more. And then when I'm sure there's not going to be any more DLC, I'll go back through and kind of update the review for that DLC. while it may not be as efficient, if you will, as just waiting to finish the review, when I'm sure there's not going to be any more DLC made, that's kind of not really possible with the way we have we're going to be doing the reviews. We're already going to be having kind of a backlog because we're going to be starting with the first games we did and working up to the current ones. That's probably going to take maybe, I'm not really sure, but possibly. It's not outside the realm of possibility that it'll take half a year to do this once we start doing them. I'm not really planning on getting the Mass Effect 1 or StarCraft 2 reviews out until probably sometime in June. Just because I still have to go back over the written review, which I'll explain in a second, for Mass Effect 1 to see if I can add anything else in there, or if I have to explain things a little bit further, or if I want to add anything. And then I also have to do the audio portion of the review and the rewrites and re-records of those reviews. And then after everything is good to go, I have to go back into the game, or back through the game, and re-record footage to go along with the audio for the video review. So it's kind of like a whole process, which I'm not sure I'll be able to get fully together to put everything together before June. Just because of how long it's going to take for this first one, while I'm getting used to how it's going to work. The written review, though, is kind of a more, well, not kind of a more, it is a more complete version of the video review. The video review is kind of going to be just a synopsis or a summary of the written review, because the written reviews are going to be way too long to do video reviews for word. The first time I recorded the Mass Effect review, I actually recorded it word for word, and it actually took 38 and a half minutes to complete. The Mass Effect review is 6 pages long, 2,304 words. Obviously, some of those, not too many, but some of them are from the canned pieces, just a basic outline of how the review is set up. But most of that is actual stuff, actual thoughts and descriptions, and basically just actually is the review. And that's probably going to increase in length as I go back through it. But it would just take too long to do video reviews for those. And so we're just going to be going over briefly to semi-briefly. I might have to explain things in a greater depth if I have to make what I'm saying about the different criteria and how I'm rating them to make sense. But the written review will be much more complete, usually. And it'll be located on our wiki page, on a article I have yet to create. There'll be links on that article to the doc files, so you can download them at your leisure. And when we complete a review, I'll upload it to the website, and then make the article link for it. That's just really what I wanted to go over for this introductory video to the review series. I'll put this video at the top of the of Season 1, beginning of Season 1 for the review show that I've set up. That way, as people are going through the show, they'll see this one first, and you'll be able to figure out how the reviews are going to be done. But again, this has been GOL for Laughing Man Productions². Please feel free to subscribe. We'd really appreciate it if you would favorite or like this video as well. And we will see you next time.